Two brand new characters were just discovered thanks to the Chapter 4 ARG. One was a leak and the other comes with a very fascinating backstory. So let's break it all down. Recently, somebody within the Poppy Playtime Discord server had made a huge discovery about a brand new character for Chapter 4, and the devs were not particularly happy with this either. The person was somehow able to reverse the image editing and revealed this: a dinosaur character mixed with a piano. Right now, everyone is calling this character Painosaurus, but this obviously isn't the official name. Regardless, this thing looks incredible. Its teeth are piano keys, and the keys even go down the whole body. It also has a bunch of colored horns on it like a dinosaur would. Now, like I said, this wasn't supposed to be revealed yet. The devs consider it a leak, even timing out people in their Discord for talking about it. But why would you create the image, edit it, and then put it out if you don't want people to decode it? Obviously they want to tease something, but you can't expect your fans to not dissect every little detail. It's pretty incredible what some people can find. So at this point, I have a feeling this character will officially be revealed soon. With that being said, remember this is just technically art for it. The version that gets revealed, or the in-game version, will likely be much more creepy looking and have way more detail. So I'm excited to see just how terrifying this thing is going to look. Now, on top of this new character, people were able to find coordinates hidden within the photos as well. There are 3, and the locations are in California, Missouri, and Maine. All 3 spread conveniently across the United States. I wonder if the locations have anything to do with Chapter 4 rather than just the contents of what's found. Anyways, Sheep Rampage found the very first item in Missouri, and what he found was nothing I would have expected. At the location was a little white box, and inside was a partially torn apart Huggy Wuggy plush. More interestingly, it had yarn tied to it, as if someone was trying to put Huggy back together. So considering this is part of the Chapter 4 ARG, this could only mean one thing: Huggy Wuggy is back, although he might be a little damaged. The way I interpret this is someone or something found Huggy at the bottom of the factory after his fall and decided to fix him up by sewing him together, hence the yarn. Or maybe the yarn has to do with something else. Inside of Huggy were 2 pieces of paper which introduce us to what I think will be the new main antagonist: Experiment 1166, Yarnaby. These papers are game station test subject assessment forms that showcase how well the child did. That child's name was Quinn Navidson. Sheep did a live stream showing off these papers, so I recommend checking that out to learn more about them. But let's just say Quinn was not the best at these tests. That being said, let's take a look at the new files found within the ARG. The first one I want to talk about is a transcript between Quinn and Dr. Harley Sawyer. It's a conversation between the two while Quinn is playing with toys. Quinn mentions how he is making his toys prettier without heads. As said by Quinn, their heads get in the way of their bodies, but if you put Dolly's head from this body over here onto this one, see, he moves all better now. So right off the bat, you get an idea of how Quinn is. It's slightly disturbing. Dr. Harley Sawyer mentions how his counselors are concerned with Quinn's behavior, how what he is doing right now is troublesome. Dr. Sawyer also asks Quinn if he agrees with their assessment, but Quinn is unfamiliar with that word. He just wants to make things prettier. Even with a troubled mind, Quinn still harbors innocence. After all, he is just a child. Then Dr. Sawyer gives his opinion on Quinn, and it reads, "I think you hold back a lot of yourself. I think you mess up to make others have lesser expectations of you. I think this, your behaviors, is just a result of seeing the world a little differently. There's nothing wrong with that. I think you're smart. I think you're capable. And I think in your next test, you'll give all of yourself to achieve a good result. Do you know why? Because I see you, and not the version of you others want to. I see the real Quinn Navidson, and believe me this, I want the same prettier world you see. So next week, when you have another go at the game station, I'll be watching, and I want to see all of the real Quinn on display." So it seems Quinn might be leading the staff to think he isn't as smart as he really is. He sees the world differently, and in a troubled mind like this, prettier might not be as pretty as everyone else sees it. I'll talk more about Quinn in a moment. This brings us to a weekly checkup for subject 1166, Yarnaby. This is obviously Quinn as the bigger body toy. This update is for behavioral changes and progression. He eats little, lazes about his cell, and performs substandard on all physical tests, meaning below average. With the removal of his master, 116 appears lost. Despite Sawyer's apathy, the subject formed an attachment of sorts. Without whatever sense of comfort or stability that brought him, his motivation has sapped. He sits, stares, listens, and only acts with aggression whenever I approach him. He truly just doesn't care anymore. This tells us that Yarnaby formed an attachment with Dr. Harley Sawyer. However, the feeling was not mutual. So Yarnaby became lazy and unmotivated. It's almost as if he was like a lost dog. The conclusion supports this, reading, "The mind of an animal does not process grief in the same ways as people. If a dog's master dies, it waits around the same places and wanders where the scent is strong, thinking someday its master has to return. A hole forms in their life, and without higher processing, they must walk around it forever, or simply allow themselves to fall in." But 116 is not fully an animal, even if his mannerisms and behavioral characteristics suggest as such. Whatever boy there is deep inside, I think he's scared, broken down by isolation over too long a time for us to salvage much from what's still there. He was designed for one purpose, and one purpose only, a design made flawed by paranoia and ego. In that, he's a failure by design. For now, he can sulk and spend his days wishing for a master that I can guarantee you didn't care for him at all. This is both sad and disturbing. 116 acts as a lost dog without Harley, so he sits alone rotting away in his cell. As to what his only purpose is, well, let's take a look at the prisoner profile. Yarnaby's assigned position is pending because they probably don't know what to do with him yet. Now, this profile talks about how 116 lacks higher cognitive function, complex reasoning, speech, problem solving, and greater introspection. These attributes all appear either severely limited or altogether non-functional. 116 was strong, agile, and swift, but lacked the brain power needed for such traits, meaning Yarnaby was more or less a failure. He had loyalty to select staff, but they just felt bad for him, as if he was a lost dog or cat. However, dogs can be trained, which means progress and improvements can be made. The plan was to isolate 116, so its only contact was with Dr. Harley Sawyer. Besides, Harley might get a laugh or two out of the pathetic little sounds it makes. By the time he's done with it, he'll be its entire world. It's known nothing else but Harley. Now we know why 116 was so attached to him. He was his entire world. So what does all this mean? Well, experiment 116 is Yarnaby, likely the or one of the main antagonists for chapter 4. Yarnaby wasn't a very successful experiment. He had become attached to Harley, only to be neglected, leaving him as sort of a lost dog. Because of this, Yarnaby turned out to be a failure and would rot away inside his cell. This also confirms that the cells we saw in the teaser photo is where they kept the unwanted experiments. The child used for this experiment was Quinn Davidson. However, Quinn had a troubled mind and saw things differently from others. He saw beauty in the unpleasant. A very interesting mind to use for a bigger body experiment. Why would Playtime Code do this? Well, for right now, it remains a mystery. How do you guys feel about Yarnaby and Quinn Davidson? I can't wait to learn more. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and if you like horror game content like this, please consider subscribing. Also, if you want to support the channel more, you can become a member. Don't forget to follow my Twitter at TerrifiedT. Thanks for watching.